Hello everyone, this is Andy and at the property. Right, so thank you for coming onto my channel, and this is something that I do every Monday and Friday. So to tell people more about Singapore property and it's also for you to actually make informed decision on buying or selling a property. Right, so you have any questions that you want to actually get some answers, you can always reach out to me at my WhatsApp. All right, so the link is over at the video, and there's some description below, so you can actually put it in. All right, you can actually get information from that. Sorry. So now today's topic is we're gonna talk about a few things, and today's topic, all right, it's gonna be about the. Let me pick up the slides over here. Okay, so what's today's topic? All right, today's topic is about the property that we own. Okay, so is freehold better or 99 years leasehold better? Right. So of course here we are talking about private property. So private property is in terms of the different type of property. It could be apartments, right? So those that probably in the range of maybe like 10 units to probably about 60 units. These are, depending on the kind of, the status, all right? And of course, there's also things like condominiums. So condominiums will be a much bigger development. And there are also those that is like, for example, townhouses as well. And there's also cluster housing, which is, it has some facilities. The feel is more like a landed property. And there's also things such as conservation. So conservation houses or shop houses, if you want to put it in that manner, right? There are those that are 99 years, freehold as well. And of course, there's also some property, all right, that is 999, and also at the same time 69, right? That means it's 99999, right? 669. So there are some that's still in existence in Singapore. So if you want to find out more about this type of property, you can let me know. All right. So today I'm going to talk about freehold versus 99 years. All right. So of course, it's in terms of the lease, and of course the tenure itself is much shorter. Okay, so 99 years, which is better. Right. So there's going to be a few pointers I'm going to bring out. All right. Of course, we talk about freehold. Freehold is definitely perpetually is yours, right? Unless what happens is the government acquires your property for redevelopment purposes, or maybe there's some road that they need to widen, for whatever reason, or maybe MRT they're going to build, right? So they can acquire your land as well. Okay, so in that scenario, right, Singapore property, they will still be able to acquire your property, right, regardless of what kind of status. So whether it's 99 years freehold, okay, so that means it's still considered non-freehold as well, if you want to put it that way, right? But of course, for today's discussion, the topic will be freehold for 99 years. And for that matter, right, the airspace above you and below you, right, not airspace, that means below you, anything that's below you is also considered property as well. So they can also acquire your property because they are building something below, right? So this is something that for Singapore property market you've got to be aware. All right, so for freehold property, perpetually is yours. So if you look at how the demographics of Singapore property is, a lot of the freehold property now is perhaps owned by a lot of people that probably in a generation they actually own this property for a long period of time. And of course, there's those that is probably in the early 1990, there's still some freehold property that's being sold, all right, on a new launch basis. But if you look at now, what's the demographic now is a lot of in fact, there's no freehold land, right, that is released by the government already. Okay, so if you look at it now, it's a lot of freehold property that's being launched. It's all from the resale market, from the existing market. So what happened is they gone through en bloc, then after that they actually, become converted to new development, then they sell it, right? So the new launches that are freehold, they are all from the existing market. So from the government itself, there's no more freehold. Okay, so And of course, 99 years is it could be 103 years, and after that, the actual tenure is 99 years of ownership, right? So of course, it includes the development period as well. So 99 years itself, there of course the duration wise of holding is definitely not as long as freehold, and of course at the same time, this land doesn't really belong to you. Okay, so this advantage or disadvantage, it depends on how you look at it. Okay, so freehold, some people feel that, hey, I want to own this property for a long period of time, and I can pass it down to generation and generation. Okay, so but you have to understand one very important fact about property is perpetually, if you want a property to hold up, right, for more than 50 years, all right, up till now, right, there's it's only a certain amount of property that's more than 50 years in Singapore that is still standing, right? So whether it's freehold or 99 years, the fact is the property itself cannot hold up for such a long period unless they go through redevelopment or some refurbishment, if you want to put it in that manner, right? And the chances is the longer it is around, the more maintenance it requires. So that's why you look at some of the older developments, right? They are facing challenges such as high maintenance costs, and also at the same time, there's a lot of things that's leaking, there's things that's not functioning well. So this is the reason why, whether it's freehold or leasehold, this is one main consideration you gotta have. And of course, it's a property like, for example, a landed property that's freehold, right? Up to a certain stage, it's already run down. You got to think about redevelopment, right? And of course, some people redevelop with some aspect of keeping the facade on, that kind of thing, right? So that to remain as nostalgic as possible in terms of the development of the property, right? So, but one thing about Singapore freehold property is their locations itself. If you notice, there are some which is not so. In fact, I would say that probably 80 to 90% of the freehold property are at location that is further away from transportation, right? Like for example, MRT. So MRT, even though now we have a lot of MRT station, right, in Singapore, but to be walking for a duration of more than 5 minutes to get to the transport, right, it's also quite tedious and tiring as well, looking at Singapore's weather. So the property that's freehold, right, usually they are all very far away from the transportation network. So this is very important consideration. And freehold property itself, of course, their location itself is not so ideal, right? Of course, there's also some very small amount of freehold property that is very near to transportation. So those has advantage, okay? And this is the sector on freehold property. All right. The other part, which is the leasehold property. All right. The leasehold property itself has certain advantage. All right. In terms of, if you notice, some of the in fact, most of the location of those property that's near to the MRT station, right, are in fact 99 years lease. Right? I'm talking about condominiums and apartments. But if your landed property, which is near to MRT station, congratulations, you will have a property that is very good, in terms of location to the MRT, location. All right. So you actually add on to your advantage in terms of, all right, easier to lease out the property, more convenience. All right. Easier probably to sell if you want to sell, right? So these are the consideration in terms of the property itself. But does it mean that the property price is much, much better? Not necessarily. If you look at the surrounding in terms of pricing wise, right, it's always on a comparative, area. The location itself, most of the property is that price, because of the strategic location, right? I'll say that it doesn't really, there's not really real advantage in terms of pricing difference. Okay, but if you look at the overall location, there is an advantage there already. Okay, so most 99 years itself goes through a certain process in terms of their status. Okay, in terms of 99 years, a lot of owners, by the time the property reaches maybe about 30 years, 40 years, all right, they start to look at what's the tenure left, okay, and also at the same time their the condition of the property itself. So 99 years owners are probably more motivated to actually sell en bloc because they know that their tenure is lesser, and of course at the same time, their property condition is not so good. So there's an advantage there, and of course the second, the most important fact is their location is also very more ideal, right? Comparatively, is more ideal, right, in terms of the 99 years property. Okay, so this is a comparison. So personally, I always feel that the property aspect in terms of investment aspect, right, is all about the location, right? And location itself is also depending on certain factors. So for example, if you have property 99 years near the MRT, right, and you have the integrated resort, integrated development, which you have malls nearby, the convenience is there. So that property itself will probably get a better, in terms of the appreciation. Comparatively, if you have a property that is further away from transportation, you'll be lesser, right? And of course, if you look at it, right, this aspect of 99 years of freehold is basically how our mindset is. A lot of times, right, as maybe perhaps, as you look at it, right, as the era change, right, the type of people, the younger couples are buying property, the younger people are buying, their perception change, all right? Maybe the older folks will prefer to have freehold property. But now if you look at it, the overall majority of the population, they're okay with 99 years. The reason is because they understand that, certain aspect of property itself is not perpetually long, forever. So they have to understand that the change in mindset will result in the demand of the property, in the overall market in Singapore. So that's very important factor because property itself, whether you appreciate or not, depends on the buyers, whether they're keen to buy. Firstly, whether you get good rental returns is also depend on whether there's enough the tenant is willing to rent, right? So you're talking about investment. You're going to talk about getting money back, in terms of capital appreciation or cash flow in terms of rental returns. So this aspect itself, you can never run away from it. It's because if a property that is good location will have that aspect in terms of rental returns and capital appreciation. So this is the main advantage in terms of that. And of course, if there's further development in that surrounding area, you will add on to your property appreciation speed as well. So this is something that I believe that it will actually help you in your property purchase. So don't hold on too much whether it's I gotta no choice. I gotta I die want to buy freehold property. Open our horizon and look at what is probably the appreciation in terms of the level, right? Any property you buy, you want appreciation. You want to have more returns. So this is probably the most important consideration, rather than buying the property and say I want to pass on to my generation. I think there's a lot of change in mindset as well. So in the future, maybe this doesn't apply anymore. And of course, as you see, right, this will actually affect the property purchase in the future as well. Okay, so I hope that this video itself will actually help you in your decision to consider whether to buy freehold property or leasehold property. So there's a bit of things that I actually shared quite comprehensively. So you can, if you have any question, you can always give me a call or give me a WhatsApp. I hope to be able to talk to you soon. All right, thank you very much. Bye bye.